Hey guys, we are here with some superstars. The Baines family, Peter Baines, Claire Baines, some books that these guys have written, particularly Pete with his experience. I was laughing today about this being the most interesting man in the world. This is a man, very quickly, that can tell his life story and generate tens of millions of dollars worth of money for charity. There's not many people in Australia or the world that have that ability, that have those life experiences, and we're really blessed to have these guys here today. Thanks guys for coming in.
Great to join you.
Thanks for having us.
So it was a big intro. We don't quite know how to lead in from there, but I'm sure we can all have a candid chat about that and tell everyone a little bit more about your story. Lisa, do you want to?
No, I think we need to hear from the most interesting man in the world and actually understand a little bit about why he is the most interesting man in the world. So over to you, Pete. If we can just get a bit of an understanding, let's tell the world just a little bit about you. I think that's the best way to start.
Sure. So for 22 years, I worked for New South Wales Police as a forensic investigator, and my day was filled with investigating scenes of homicide and suicides and suspicious deaths, and then after the Bali bombings, I was part of the team deployed into Bali to identify the 202 people who died and to send them home. Then after the tsunami on Boxing Day of 2004, I went back to Asia, back into Thailand, and this time I was leading both the Australian and the international teams in the identification of the 5,395 bodies that we found. And that was, and it remains, the world's largest disaster victim identification attempt that's ever been undertaken.
Wow.
So we had 450 forensic staff from around the world, and they came from 36 different countries. And the really interesting thing was the Australians led the international response.
Really?
And it was not something that was predetermined, it was not conditional, it was just the actions of the Australians. We turned up, and I talk about the four things that put us into those positions of leadership. And the first was that we acted with speed. And you guys know that when there's an opportunity, when there's a gap within the marketplace, if you move quickly, you'll hold that position of leadership.
Yeah.
And it's what the Australians did, and it put us into those positions of leadership. Dealing with change and leading with sensitivity was the second thing. Having structure and simplicity were really the four key things that put us into those positions of leadership. So I spent most of 2005 either in Thailand or deploying teams from Australia to go to Thailand. And then at the end of 2005, the international deployment wrapped up. And but on my last rotation, I met a group of kids. And these kids were all living in a tent in Thailand. They'd all lost their parents, all lost their homes, and at that point I realised I couldn't change what had happened, but I felt I could change what happened next. So I started or formed the charity called Hands Across the Water with the idea of raising enough money to build a home for them. And
So Hands Across the Water is an Australian-based charity. You guys are the fearless leaders in that company, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So it started in 2005, and initially I thought if we build the home that they need, our job will be done. And I really only thought that's all that, and it was a very naive thought process.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I went over there in 2007 to open the home that I realised our job had just started. And I returned in 2012 and set up a board, and then we got serious, and it's grown since then.
So it seems like you've almost gone to do a good deed, just a good deed, and it's opened up an entire book of 300 pages, and you just got onto page 10.
Yeah. It was something that was certainly totally unexpected.
Yeah.
And where Hands would take me, because I spent the last 2 years, I was employed by New South Wales Police working on an international secondment. So I worked for Interpol in Lyon in France on a counter-terrorism project around what we call CBRN, which is chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear threats. So I was looking at threats and trends around counter-terrorism.
You're from the School of Hard Knocks.
Well, I did that for 12 months, and then
I heard about you. I heard about you back in 2011.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Apparently, back in 2011, Pete was a hardened man, and he's softened over the last 7 years.
Really? Is this true, Claire?
still
True?
tough.
I reckon it's probably because of you, Claire. I reckon, but that would really what you've experienced, and your story, mate. That must have just. I can't think of that. That's. You can think of, like, to put it into perspective for me, if I was part of a car accident and I witnessed a car accident, that's enough to rock my world for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But you live that and you, like that, that's really, and I had that conversation again with the same person. And they said, that's right, you won an Order of Australia
that's right.
for your contribution to what you've done. Like, this, it's just amazing. It seems like with your story, is the more I learn about you, that's more like, no.
The more he really is the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, the most interesting man in the world. Like, you actually feel a bit silly because you didn't know.
Yes.
About, it's an amazing. I won't say it's a story; it's your life, but it's unique to be able to share that with you, and viewers. And I was really excited about.
I think the key though is certainly what we get to do is the more that you give, and the more that you do for someone else, the more that comes back to you.
Isn't that the truth?
And there's no one within
what a
hands
message.
that works harder than us for hands.
Yeah.
But there's no one that gets as much out of it as we do.
Yeah.
And I think.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, Pete, from what we saw, because we've all just been in Thailand together. We're going to cover that in a moment.
So if you've just tuned in, we're with Peter and Claire Baines. These guys have written some amazing books out there, and just in summary, we did a bike ride supporting a charity. We didn't realise what an incredible charity it was. And here we are again today. So sorry, Lise.
But just seeing how so we finished off the bike ride. We're jumping a little bit all over the place here, but we finished off the bike ride in the orphanage that Hands Across the Water have set up for these amazing children in Thailand, and how these children were towards you guys is incredible. I mean, you've changed their life. You've changed their life. I don't know how else to say that, but it's quite incredible. I mean, how they were running around after you, and it's it's something really quite incredible.
And we get to enjoy being the face of that.
Yeah.
But without people such as yourselves and everyone who supported you, I think you had like 65 donors or so forth, Mark, that supported you.
65 people. Thank you again, everyone out there that supported us. 65 people, about 14 odd thousand, and the group as well raised about
$240,000. Unbelievable.
The thing, I know we are jumping around, but the thing that I love most about what you guys do is you've quarantined away administrative charges. So every dollar that people supported me on, that dollar 70% didn't go towards the kids, 80% didn't go towards kids, 100% went towards the kids.
So let's cover that, because that's really critical. I mean, we do support other charities. And I think this is the thing. What a lot of people don't understand is that you give that $1 to charity, but about 40 cents of that actually gets to the charity. Do you want to just cover a little bit of that, Claire, about how that works?
Yeah,
because this is what drew us to you guys, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly helping children in an orphanage without a doubt. But yeah, very interested to hear a bit more about it.
Yeah, so in 2011, a decision was made to set up a company that would sit next to the charity.
Yep.
And so it would undertake commercial activities to bring funds into the company to cover the administration and operation of the charity.
Yeah.
So things like, we run an annual roadshow, Future of Leadership. So that's a business conference for leaders. We run that across Australia. All of the funds from that, all of the proceeds from that goes into the company to pay for our staff, for all of our administration costs. And that enables us to ensure that 100 cents in the dollar that is donated. So for anyone that's putting a donation into Hands Across the Water, 100% of that goes over to Thailand.
Which is rare. Like, I don't know how every charity runs, but I understand that, as I said before, the $1 that you give, you know, 40 cents of it gets there or thereabouts. I don't think there's many charities that run like you guys do. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, and I don't know that we should get too hung up on that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a model that works for us.
Yeah.
And I think the more important thing in assessing charities is because you know, you can say, well, there's only this much gets there, but you've got to look at what they're doing. And you know, some charities are doing advocacy, for example. Well, all their money will be spent on what we'll call administration, because the employment of the staff. So I think it's, you know, it's a model that works for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
We know that our donors really like that fact, but, you know, I'm not saying that we're better than other charities because of it. We've got administrative costs. We've just found a different way to meet them.
It's an appealing model,
It is,
I've got to
it
say,
is.
to know that we will work hard outside of our business and in our business to raise funds for something, and know that the $240,000 that was raised collectively in our group
Yep.
all went towards
Absolutely.
the charity.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, something I struggle with is when it's not an Australian charity.
Yeah.
So I struggle with.
a lot of people asked us.
Yeah, a lot of people
Yeah.
ask. So even though you guys are Australian based, but the money's
Yeah.
going back overseas. So what I struggle with is we do a lot of work with, you know, St Vincent Hospital, different charities that are local, and I think for me there was a personal. It was almost like, okay, well, if I'm going to help someone, it almost doesn't matter where you're from. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's what I learned. And I know your life almost, I guess you had nowhere, if you were almost tractor beamed into that support. You didn't get to choose a country.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was just, that's what it was something that you've done, but people do have that decision with their sponsorship and when they're supporting, and I found it a little bit hard saying, oh, the money's going overseas, I don't really know. But I think at the end of the day, you know, there is a social responsibility, and that social responsibility sits with everyone and their decision how they want to do it. But I actually felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, so I think that was really cool that we could get behind it. Now, this sounds really selfish. The thing that I love most about what you guys have offered is the self-fulfillment that
I was
you
just gonna
will
say
give,
that.
that these guys have given. So yes, we did a bike ride, and it was 535 Ks in 5 days, and you've provided obviously a fun experience to contribute as a charity. But where I really got a kick out of it is I and it's a really selfish thing, but I feel like I got a human upgrade, and I feel like that. You know, whether it was the oxygen to your brain, or whether it was, you know, hanging out with the kids, or whether it was the solace on a bike ride, but the way you guys have done this support thing, I think everyone really is a winner, and I can't put my dollar anywhere.
Yeah.
If I'm going to support something, to say I'm clearly the winner, they're the winner, and everyone in that full circle was good. So that's a magic that you guys are offering that I can't find that magic anywhere else.
Yeah, that's so
And that's
true.
certainly been key to our growth and success, is rather than seeking to raise money, we seek to provide meaningful experiences.
Yeah.
And we want to be seen as a service provider as opposed to someone just raising money, because
Yes.
the problem in the charity sector is
So
all the
true.
charities are doing
Yeah.
good things.
Yeah.
They're all
So
going
if I try to compete,
Everyone's
if
got
we
that,
try to
yeah.
compete because we're doing a good thing in Thailand, you can list all of the charities that you support through the Novak group, and they're all doing good things.
Yep.
Yes.
But I think the change that's coming in the charity sector is the charities will rise and grow if they're returning value. And my view from a business point of view is that if your support of charity is not a profit centre back to your business, you're not doing it well.
Yep.
And it should be an equal relationship, because people talk about corporate social responsibility, but in most cases it's just philanthropy. It's you giving
Yes.
a portion of your net
true.
profit
Yep.
or your time.
Yeah.
When you start to have a relationship where you can sit here and say, I had a human upgrade from it, your word, not
Absolutely.
mine. We say, well, we've
Absolutely.
delivered value to you,
Yeah.
And that's where we need to go as a
But there
charity.
was so much to take away. I mean, when we get asked about, you know, what do we experience there in Thailand and what were we doing? And, you know, people are a little bit confused by it all. It was multifaceted. There was so much going on. If it wasn't the human upgrade, it was the exercise component, or it was the dad and son that was on the bike ride that had this amazing bonding experience, connecting experience. It was the networking. You get 30 real estate related people together. We've had referrals for business, and also there's just so many things. And then to end up at the orphanage at the end, you know, and to know that you've actually, it wasn't a sad experience. It was happy to know that we've somehow assisted that. You know, and then to get to meet you guys and work with you guys and form those relationships. I don't think you can find that anywhere. You know, and I don't even know how to equate that. So when people are asking us, like, what was it and what were you doing? It's like, I don't even know where to start, except we've just got to somehow get you all on board.
We always say it's an experience you have to experience.
Yeah.
And the good thing, and from everyone who's watching, the good thing out there is you can actually buy that human upgrade, or you can buy that experience. So it was about $2,500 where that provided hotels, accommodation, breakfast, lunch and dinner, support crew, bicycle, the tight clothes that I was wearing.
They're a little bit tighter than they're meant to be, I think.
Luggage, 27 riders, so we all paid for that out of our own pocket. Then what we paid for is our airfare. I think some guys were saying $500-600 they got the airfare returned with some providers. So for under $3,000 to go away for a week, to be fed, to be housed, to have that experience,
and it was
the camaraderie
military
there. And then my duty was to actually tell my story to my friends and family and customers. And if they decided they wanted to put in for that, that's where the kids benefited. So I put my body on the line and my money on the line for the trip, and then everyone backed me. So that's the great thing, that I feel everyone won out of that. So I think 6th of March we're doing another ride next year, and there's a clear invitation out to friends, family, viewers to come on that ride. That's your investment, and if you don't raise the money, no one shoots you down. It's okay, but if you raise 2,000 or 5,000 or 7,000, it's all celebrated no matter what you raise or don't raise. But it's big value stuff. Big value stuff.
Unbelievable.
Can we learn more about Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. The most interesting man in the world. What can you tell us about the most interesting man in the world?
Tell us some secrets.
We want the inside guys. That's what we want.
One of the amazing stories that we met, I liken her to a grandmother, and she was also a monk.
Mayfield.
Mayfield. When we were there, it was almost like she had a baby swap up. So there was a person coming and going, and all she held was...
This was at the orphanage.
At the orphanage.
She
had
Thailand.
this amazing monk's robe on, and then she was so comfortable with these babies in her hands. So this lady's been around for forever, and she's brought these kids up. Must be thousands of, like, how many kids have come and gone out of that home, out of that beautiful home?
What a human being.
Like that, to witness someone like that in my life, you don't see that in our culture.
And I think
this is
the
a
impact
unicorn.
she's had on us. Like, she's been to our home, she's been up to our farm and lived with us, and she is an incredible person. And the more you learn about her, the more she touches your soul. She is a beautiful woman.
That was
a quick A to Z, because we know, but our viewers don't know. Can you tell us a bit more about her?
Do you want to share the story,
Claire?
Sure.
Yeah.
So she's, she started the foundation 40 years ago, and
She started it.
the foundation.
Okay.
So she had quite a rough upbringing, and ended up. So I'm not sure how she met the kids, but started a foundation looking after kids that have HIV, and she would take them in, and they have either lost their parents to HIV, they have HIV.
This is 1980, 1985, 40 years ago. This is when HIV was prevalent.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what she was, and this was way before Hands got involved. And so she was tasked with, raising money to pay for food, medicine, shelter. And she got to a point where she couldn't afford both. And so it was, do I feed the kids or do we give them medicine? And so sadly, through her, in those first 30 years, she buried 1,027 children.
Oh my God.
And
Mathil, she really.
yeah, so incredible, like the resilience and the strength in this woman, and what,
Oh my God,
what
that's-
we've both
yeah.
learned from her is just incredible. And
It's also you've nurtured, and then it's not like you're a doctor and
Yeah.
someone's passed away. These are your kids that
Yeah.
you've brought up for years and years and years. And
Yeah.
that's
I mean, there was a boy there who Nut, and his job, or his task in the home was to build graves, was to dig graves.
Oh my God.
And for his brothers and sisters. So
Yeah.
really incredibly sad, and she was just on this fight of how do I get enough money to be able to look after these kids, and that's when Pete.
So you guys met her.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was
10 years ago,
introduced
or?
to her in 2010, and at that stage we only had tsunami-related projects for hands in Thailand, and it was a conversation with a lady back here in Australia who told me about Mathil, and so we jumped on the phone. I learnt more about her and said I should go and have a look. Went to the home and it was broken. The kids were sick, the kids were skinny, and as CT has said, the kids were dying. And they were dying on a regular basis
Yeah.
because she had to decide out of the limited resources who got the medicine and who did not. And
Oh my
and it was
God. Like,
easy
what a,
for
what,
us.
a, what a decision to have to make.
Well, it was
Yeah.
easy for us just to bring money.
Yeah.
And so we started supporting her in late 2010, and by 2011 the kids stopped dying. And we've continued now. We provide 100% of funding. So where you've been at the end of the ride, that's a hands project now that we...
And what a beautiful, happy place.
Yeah.
I mean, the natural thing to want to do was bring all the kids home. You want to pick them up and bring them all home. But they're so happy, and that's
Yeah.
selfish of us to
Yeah.
want to do that
They don't
because
want
they're
that.
so happy in that environment.
Yeah,
they
that's
don't want to
right.
come
Yeah.
here. They're very happy there, with their brothers and sisters. And
I think I said
yeah.
that to you when we
Yeah, yeah.
had a coffee here, before the ride, and you guys
Yeah.
were like, what are we getting ourselves into, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what's it going to be like, and am I going to want to take all the kids home? And I said, absolutely not, because you'll see that these kids are loved, they're happy, they've got everything that they need.
They're happy, they're healthy, they're educated. Steve was also talking, and I don't know if we're allowed to touch on this or not, but Steve Carroll, who assisted with us coming on board with the
He deserves a
ride.
big congratulations.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He's one of the head guys at realestate.com.au, and he was a very integral part of Mark and I coming on board with that ride. And now I've completely lost my train of thought.
He's a weapon. He's a weapon. He deserves.
He does deserve a round of
He
applause.
really does.
But I have completely lost my train of thought. That's all good. That happens on live TV, doesn't it?
But guys, thanks for sharing,
Yeah.
offering the experience, and I really do want to put the invitation out there to any riders for next year. We are. I personally didn't do much training.
As in
for the
zero.
ride. So if you don't
Zero.
think you have the fitness or agility to do the ride, don't worry. You'll be okay, and it's definitely worth it. Hey, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it.
Yeah. No, it was. It was an experience. We're all too busy. We all have just way too much going on in our lives. Mark and I are guilty of that. A few weeks before, we were saying, how are we going to do this? We don't have time. How are we going to leave the business? I tell you what, put the pause button on, because this was an experience that we can't explain here in this half an hour interview. We just simply cannot. It was so good that we've signed up for next year. We're taking our children along.
Yeah.
A big part of us was that the regret was that we didn't have our kids there as well to experience this.
Be selfish, take the human upgrade.
Phenomenal, really. You will not, absolutely will not regret it. We're going to put a link in as well, guys, so that you can jump on and see how you can actually sign up for the ride next year. Don't worry if you can't ride a bike. I can't.
We will teach you.
Mark will teach you. I
no
might have
back
some training
training
wheels on
rides.
or something, I don't know, or a carriage off the side of Mark's bike. But don't worry if you can't ride, and don't worry if you're not fit. We're testament that none of that actually does matter. But what does matter is that you'll get an experience out of this like you've never had, and you'll have lifelong friends as well, and learn a lot about yourself and about what's going on in the rest of this magical world of ours.
And congratulations, guys. And
Yeah,
thank
congratulations.
you from us,
Yeah.
all of us. Obviously, everyone that sponsored us and yourselves, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you get a lot of thank yous. But you guys are amazing people.
Two of the most
too.
selfless human beings you'll ever meet.
In the
Yeah.
world.
Well, thanks
Without
for
a
your
doubt.
support.
Yeah,
you.
without a doubt. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
We look
guys.
forward to riding in 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Woo.
We'll put the hands across for what the details
We
in there
will.
as well.
See you guys.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.